according to Donald Trump and what he's been saying today, this war is just about over.
Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. They have nothing left. They're going to make a deal.
Now, look, that would be great news if true. But I don't think, to state the complete obvious here, that anyone should take the president for his word. Because he has said this exact same thing over and over and over again for basically more than a month now.
And they're calling, they're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late.
They want to negotiate, and as they should. So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal.
And the other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal.
They are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it.
The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to shit. They're begging to make a deal. They're begging to make a deal. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that. They'd like to make a deal very badly, very badly.
Now, maybe this time is different. We all should hope there's a deal. Maybe now Iran really does want to make a deal. Maybe Trump is negotiating with the secret Iranians in his mind. We don't know. But trusting him on this front is a little bit like Charlie Brown trusting Lucy with the football. I mean, at this point, if you believe him, that's kind of on you. But as obvious as this verbal tick of Trump's is, it also may have a very different purpose. You see, every time Trump claims Iran wants a deal, the stock market believes him. I mean, that clip I showed you of Trump saying the war was close to over and that Iran wanted to make a deal, that aired this morning on Fox Business, just before the markets opened. And like clockwork, the stock market jumped up. As one financial analyst told NBC News today, quote, as far as the stock market is concerned, the war is over until further notice. Well, thank you, stock market, I suppose, because that would certainly be news to the more than 50,000 American troops currently in the region. And unfortunately, it's just not the case. I mean, the reality is that Trump has never been a trustworthy news source here, obviously. Remember in the first days of this war, Trump said it would last 4 weeks max, maybe less. 4 weeks after saying that, Trump said it would be another 2 or 3 weeks. That was 2 weeks ago. And right now, the reality is that we are a week and a half through a 2-week ceasefire, and we just can't trust a word he says. We also can't necessarily trust the people who are negotiating on his behalf. Let me show you what I mean. Today, in response to Trump's new blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran threatened to blockade more shipping lanes in the region, saying that unless Trump calls off his blockade, Iran will block all trade coming in and out of the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and the Red Sea. That would cut the world off from even more of the global supplies of oil and fertilizer and would be a massive blow to the world economy. Blocking the Red Sea would include the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which alone accounts for about 12% of global oil shipments. And that's on top of, that's not even a part of the 20% that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And it would be an especially huge blow to Saudi Arabia because, and we're seeing this really play out. For days now, we've been seeing reports that Saudi Arabia has been pushing the U.S. to drop Trump's blockade because they were afraid Iran would do this exact thing that they are threatening to do. And that lobbying effort, the idea that what Saudi Arabia wants and what Trump wants are two different things. That is particularly significant when you remember that one of the people leading negotiations with Iran right now is this guy.
What are the, I would say, things you have in your mind, in your body that you are using to be a deal maker in this very complex, I would say, field, which is peace?
Yeah, so I think peace is not that different than business.
Okay. That's, of course, Trump's son-in-law. You all know who he is, Jared Kushner. That was him 3 weeks ago, 28 days into Trump's war with Iran. And the event he was speaking at was a Saudi investment conference in Miami, Florida. It was hosted by none other than Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And even though Kushner is currently one of Trump's top negotiators with Iran, he was introduced at this Saudi investment event as a private citizen, as the founder and chief executive of his investment firm, Affinity Partners. You know, the investment firm of Kushner's that got a cool $2 billion from the Saudis after Trump's first term, that one. Now, the firm that the New York Times reports Kushner is actively trying to raise another $5 billion for from Gulf states like Saudi Arabia, while also leading negotiations with Iran, all happening same time. Now, I should note that in the months since the Times published that scoop, Kushner's firm has said that it does not intend to take in any additional capital while Jared is volunteering for the government. But the thing is, that commitment certainly doesn't exist once he leaves, and it certainly looks like he is lining up investments for when that day comes. Now, the obvious problem here is that Kushner has a clear conflict of interest. The White House insists that Kushner only acts in the best interests of the American people. But now one of his biggest benefactors, a country that has pumped literally billions of dollars into his company's coffers, a country that he's now asking to give him billions of dollars more, that country disagrees with Trump on how the U.S. should be negotiating with Iran. And Jared is one of the top negotiators. Today, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund announced its strategy for the next 4 years of investments. The fund says it plans to prioritize domestic investments inside Saudi Arabia, meaning maybe not investing as much in firms run by the son-in-laws of U.S. presidents. We'll see. But hey, maybe if Kushner plays his cards right, the Saudis will change their mind. Now, I should say that Kushner is adamant that his business life and his diplomatic life are two separate things. But it's impossible not to see the connections here. I mean, Jared isn't the only walking, talking conflict of interest on the U.S. side of these negotiations either. Today, the Financial Times reported that the Saudis may also be backing out of their American golf league, LIV Golf. LIV Golf is, of course, the league that was a lifeline for Trump and his empire of golf courses after the PGA cut ties with Trump following January 6th. And while the White House has said that the president has no involvement in any business deals that would implicate his constitutional responsibilities as president, the Financial Times noted specifically that the Saudis have not fully made up their mind on whether they are ditching LIV Golf or not yet. They might stop funding the golf league that puts money in Trump's pockets. They might not. Either way, it's a signal that their largesse toward the Trump family, well, it might have limits. We'll see. Then there's Trump's other chief negotiator, former real estate developer Steve Witkoff. Right before Trump took office last year, an investment firm tied to the United Arab Emirates bought a $500 million stake in the cryptocurrency firm founded by Trump and Witkoff's families. Months later, a fund backed by the country made a $2 billion deal using the Trump and Witkoff family digital coins. Now, the White House has said that Witkoff does not participate in any official matters that could impact his financial interests. But could we get that map of the trade routes Iran is threatening to blockade up there on the screen again? Huh? That certainly seems like it would be bad for Saudi Arabia and the UAE. You can see that just by looking at the map. Good thing they have really good relationships with the key negotiators in charge. Now, Vance is there with them, but this is the U.S. delegation. This is the team we have entrusted the lives of more than 50,000 U.S. troops to. Yes, two real estate developers riddled with conflicts of interest and J.D. Vance. And it has all been a reminder to me of what diplomacy and the team who leads it is supposed to be. I mean, remember the people who led the negotiations with Iran during the Iran negotiations back during the JCPOA negotiations were people like veteran diplomat Bill Burns, a man who had negotiated with Vladimir Putin when he was ambassador to Russia and with Gaddafi when he was a high-level Middle East envoy, people like Wendy Sherman, who already had the experience of negotiations with North Korea over their nuclear weapons program under President Clinton, before running point on issues ranging from China to Syria to eventually Iran during the Obama administration, and hundreds of experts who were pulled together from across the national security agencies of government, career and foreign service officials who had spent decades working on issues that were relevant to the technical aspects of the negotiations. And now we have these guys, real estate developers with massive conflicts of interest. Now, as we look ahead to next Tuesday's deadline to extend the ceasefire, as we think about the fate of the more than 50,000 U.S. troops in the region, it's worth remembering that the negotiating team we have today is still primarily the team that got us into this mess in the first place, before a single missile had been fired in this war, before oil prices skyrocketed and U.S. troops lost their lives. Ron reportedly put a deal on the table with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and they didn't take it. Witkoff himself said that 36 hours before the U.S. and Israel started bombing Iran, Iran presented the U.S. with a 7-page proposal for a potential nuclear deal. And according to reporting from The Guardian, Britain's national security advisor attended those final talks and believed that the deal offered by Iran was significant enough to prevent a rush to war. And now another diplomat, one from the Persian Gulf, told MS Now that the Iranians told Witkoff that they were willing to give up their highly enriched uranium. But for whatever reason, Kushner and Witkoff didn't take that deal. The White House denied that story, saying that Iran refused to negotiate seriously and that Trump was essentially forced to attack them to prevent an imminent nuclear threat. A threat that I should mention no credible expert believes Iran was anywhere close to achieving. So considering how